let's just start there. The nerve, the thing about the men is really bothering me, that it was the Republican Party that radicalized young men. I mean, I realize politicians lie and they constantly blame the other side for their own sins. That's not a new thing. But on that issue in particular, it's just so galling, you guys. I mean, who doesn't know? You guys are men, and like we all know young men. I'm talking about like 18-year-olds, 16-year-olds, 20-year-olds who feel dejected, completely disaffected by the constant messages of the last 5 years in particular, that they're to blame for everything, that they're not hireable, that they're not worthy of college admissions, that their pain doesn't matter. You know, I'm thinking right now of my pals over on GB News and Lawrence Wright, who got into this. He's an actor in Great Britain, and they just try to cancel him at every turn because he speaks truths that are uncomfortable. And he got canceled because he was having rhetorical battle with this other woman, who was mocking the notion that Great Britain, which had just appointed a minister for women, should appoint a minister for men to look at the number of male suicides and attempted suicides and the spike in male anxiety and depression. And she mocked it. She thought it was a joke. She sneered at it. And he responded to her like, F you, and said something like, what kind of a man would ever want to shag that? You know, typical British style. His life got blown up. Lawrence Fox, I said Lawrence, right? And he's a documentary filmmaker, Lawrence Fox. He tried to stand up like for guys he knew who had committed suicide. And he was thinking of them as this woman who was like, F them, who cares about the men? We've seen that at every turn. And now this woman has the nerve. It's her party, and not just her party, but her branch of it, the wokest of the woke on the left, that caused all that shit. And was there pushback by CNN to say, no, of course. Why? I mean, are we shocked? But anyway, what do you guys make of it?
There's like 5-6 years ago when Jordan Peterson was first coming to prominence and starting to sell out arenas. I'd started looking into the phenomenon because it was interesting and I wanted to write about it for a reason. And I wrote about with some criticism of him, but also it was fascinating to see how many people in media preemptively dismissed him because he had a male audience. It's as if there's a place where young men who are obviously searching in some way are gathering in preponderant numbers, then there is something kind of already inherently suspect about this. We see this with our friends Andrew Schultz and what do they call them? The podcast Dude Bros. Yeah. And like, oh, they have a male audience. So, you know, it's as if we all kind of understand that is a problem. That's been the overall vibe sent to sort of seeking men. And the idea from AOC that the Republican Party is sitting here thinking about how to usher people, young men, into insecure masculinity. Can you imagine? Like Mike Johnson, yes. What do we do? I'm going to usher them into it. Doesn't even begin to make sense.
Yeah, I didn't need the internet for my insecure masculinity. I just kind of a genetic thing, I think. But no, I mean, it is, I don't know if she said this word, but I tried to watch this thing on CNN, and every time I unmuted it, it was like the billionaires, and I was like, okay, it's the same script over and over again. Mm-hmm. But AOC, I mean, actually AOC does a very good job of making Bernie look normal, because you know he's not he's like, I don't toxic, what are you talking like? Yeah, I don't think that's Bernie's vibe so much. But that prefix of toxic masculinity, which became so sort of mainstream, people say that in a way as if it's a common phrase, and we all understand its meaning. There's never a toxic femininity, and I can assure you from so many experiences in my life, good Lord, is there ever? And I'm doing seminars in Anaheim in November around the show on toxic femininity. It is also a thing, but it's not a thing. It's just the way people are. But the thing is when you say this, people are radicalized online. Young men are being radicalized online. Okay, let's take that premise and say, it's true. I mean, the verb is obviously thumbing the scale. They're being radicalized. Maybe they're just being informed from a different source that they hadn't otherwise been exposed to.
Changing their politics.
Changing politics as young people do. Yep. But typically, it's a glide path from high school into college where you have the Noam Chomsky bit and you become radical. Some people stay there. Most people then become investment bankers and forget all about it. But this is kind of the obverse of that, where people are starting at 18 years old and they're, interacting with totally different political news sources that they hadn't had before. And they're just being enlightened by them. They're being convinced by them. But the thing that she's missing, well, there's a million things she's missing, but the main one is what brings them there. Megyn, your soliloquy at the beginning of the show explains some of that, of why people get there, and they're a little overwhelmed by what happened in Me Too, what happened in 2020. Mm-hmm. They said, I don't feel that this is the country that I'm a part of. These aren't the friends that I'm a part of, these supposedly toxic people. And then there's a chorus of people out there who aren't a part of the mainstream that are speaking to them. That's a pretty fascinating thing. That's not something to denounce and say, God, we have to sort of push back on this, and they think trans people are or LGBTQ are subhuman.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Lord,
it's didn't she open the clip saying something along the lines of they said explicitly what they want to do, and then goes on to correct every single position that they have. So I guess that's how we can just kind of discount what they say. But Megyn, you were kind of outraged, but it seems like you should maybe be reassured because AOC hasn't learned anything from the.
I know. You're not wrong. I did think that, she's just going to keep losing. She's just going to keep driving even young men typically vote Democrat for the reasons Moynihan was saying, but now not in the last election and not in the next election. If this is what the Democrats took away, keep going, Kmele.
Well, she wasn't the architect of every single bad idea that rose to prominence over the last couple of years, but she was certainly at the head of the parade, like championing all of these ridiculous causes. Defund the police, she was there, front and center. I remember her saying something along the lines of, this is where our politics are right now. If you aren't with it, then you need to get the hell out of the way while we run over you and essentially impose chaos across the entire country. They have yet to apologize or even reckon with the fact that they helped to bring about their own reckoning, to use the word another way in a slightly different context. And that is the fundamental takeaway from the most recent election. One could say, Donald Trump has a mandate. Maybe. It's somewhat debatable. What you can't say, however, is that Democrats did themselves any favor over the course of the previous administrations.
Yeah. To me, the whole thing is so infuriating and it's so disingenuous and it's not going to work. Those young men are never going to look at her and say, oh, okay, she gets me now. Not least of which because she's leaning in, but also she's been making a thing out of this. She thinks she's onto something. We just ran an Instagram clip of her a couple days ago where she used the same turn of phrase of insecure masculinity. That's what the Republicans are. That's why they're acting like men again. You're insecure if you are an actual man who doesn't cower, who doesn't feel the need to, wear a man bun, who actually has testosterone and understands that some urge toward aggression and, competition is natural and it's born with you if you're a normal man. She's turning those men off, by the millions, continues to, I guess I should say. And here's the second soundbite along those same lines. This is deeply insulting for the obvious reasons, but it's also yet another pot shot at young men in a way. Here it is, SOT 13.
Rhetoric and beliefs were ignorant, uneducated, and sought to disenfranchise millions of Americans. Far from the working tirelessly to promote unity, unquote, asserted by the majority in this resolution.
So Charlie Kirk was uneducated and ignorant, according to AOC. What could be further from the truth, right? I mean, you can take your shots at Charlie Kirk. Uneducated and ignorant are not two of them. And she goes with uneducated because he didn't go to college. That's what she actually thinks of the working class from which she hails, right? She wants us to know she's AOC from the Bronx. She's not whatever her real name is from Westchester, Sandy Cortez from Westchester. So she's got to take a dump on people who don't go to college. You're uneducated, as though that's the only way one can educate oneself in 2025 America. It's a lie. Charlie knew it was a lie. It was actually one of the things he felt most passionately about was that with all the online access we have now, Hillsdale College, et cetera, which I know he was a big fan of, their online properties, you don't need to go to college to just go and be indoctrinated into left-wing thinking. So she's such an elitist snob at the Met Gala, but she's going to wear her dress saying tax the rich, so that makes it okay. You know, saying she's working class Bronx, but dumping all over people who don't get a 4-year college degree. Like, she's just a hypocrite and ignorant. See, anybody who doesn't share her opinions of the world has to be ignorant. It can't be a good faith disagreement, a genuinely, felt difference of opinion. Take somebody who's without question, well-educated, Michael Knowles. He shared Charlie's views, I think, on everything. I don't think there was any daylight between them. And he could make mincemeat out of AOC in any debate, as Charlie could have as well. Let's take the trans issue, right? Michael Knowles has been arguing that in the most forceful terms possible for a long, long time. Is he ignorant? Is that his problem? Or does he just have a much different view of the issue based on his own reading and research versus AOC? It's just the whole thing is diminishing. And she feels especially empowered to do it because it was a white guy, Charlie Kirk, as is Michael Knowles for that matter. Your thoughts?
I might be a little bit oversensitive to this, being a college dropout, but
you went to college, Matt. You just couldn't hack it, right?
Correct.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
It's interesting to use the word uneducated, isn't it? Like, why is it that word? Why isn't it wrong? Why isn't it ignorant? Ignorance is actually much more defensible. You could say, well, this person just somehow doesn't understand or hasn't learned a lot about the world. Okay, you were wrong about that, but that's at least an argument. Uneducated suggests that there is a fix that these people could go through by being, inert sheep, vessels to be the recipients of the transmitted virtues of the graduates from the Columbia Teachers College or something. It is crazy elitist to say such things, and it's really ironic and fun almost that AOC and Bernie Sanders, who were kind of part of the DSA wing of the party, which is ostensibly supposed to be for working people, they could be telling a story about young men in this country and having a theory of the case where they'd be able to make their socialist arguments. And that theory of the case is we have a really weird, kind of unique in the rich world problem of people of working age not working. Right. And this is disproportionately men, but not only men compared to the rest of the world. So what's your theory of the case for that? And how are you going to address it? They could do that with empathy and sympathy. They could also look at the fact that we have crazy disability policies in this country that they probably supported in many cases that people are opting into, even though they're not quite disabled. But they don't want to do that because that would call into their own things into question. But they're not doing any of that. They're instead calling you uneducated because you disagree with how they look at the world, and this is why we're seeing this kind of shift of the political demographics in this country from who is the party of the rich and who is not.
It's an amazing thing because we've given AOC far too much credit for being a skilled politician. I mean, the thing that allows AOC to have, as you pointed out, Megyn, a town hall for no one in particular, for no election in particular, just a random one, is because people in the media love her. I interviewed her the day that she won her election against Joe Crowley, I think. Yeah. And it was unbelievable. It was a local race in a district, I think. Has she been to the district yet? If she's there, we should see if she wants to have drinks. But yeah, it was amazing how much people just wanted this young, reasonably attractive person who was a bit of a socialist. And, by the way, young people not working, if you want to see where that really happens, go to socialist countries like Spain, where young people unemployment is 48, 50%. Yeah. But it's an incredible thing of how little they have learned about politics.
Buy gold and get free silver. That's right. For every $5,000 purchased from Birch Gold Group this month in advance of Veterans Day, they're going to send you a free patriotic silver round that commemorates the Gadsden and American flags. Look, gold is up over 40% since the beginning of this year, and Birch Gold can help you own it by converting an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. Plus, they will send you free silver honoring our veterans on qualifying purchases. And if you are current or former military, Birch Gold has a special offer just for you. They are waiving custodial fees for the first year on investments of any amount. With an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, consider diversifying your savings into gold. Just text MK to the number 989898 for a free info kit and to claim your eligibility for free silver with qualifying purchase before the end of the month. Okay, before the end of the month. Again, text MK to the number 989898. Message and data rates may apply. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.